Have you ever left your doctor's office after hearing words like osteopenia or osteoporosis? Nodded your head like you understood, but inside you were really thinking, what does that actually mean? If this has happened to you, you're not alone. I've lost count of how many women have looked at me and said that their doctor mentioned their bone density results, but no one explained what those results meant, or more importantly, what they could actually do about them. If you've recently had a bone density scan, or maybe you've just been told that you have osteopenia or osteoporosis, this video is for you. By the end of our time together, you'll understand the difference between those two conditions, why bone loss becomes more common after menopause, and most importantly, what you can start doing today to help protect your bones so that you can stay strong, active, and independent for years to come. When most women hear the words bone loss, they immediately think broken bones. But that's usually not what they're really afraid of. They're worried about losing their independence. They're worried about not being able to travel, not being able to pick up a grandchild, not feeling steady on their feet, and not being able to continue serving the people they love. Those are real concerns. But the encouraging news is that a bone density scan isn't meant to predict your future. It's meant to give you information. And information allows you to make wise decisions moving forward. That's why I wanted to make this video for you. Because once you understand what's happening inside your body, you can begin to take practical steps to supporting your bone health. Before we go any further, though, I want to share a free resource with you. Because if you're already thinking, okay, I understand this matters, but where do I even begin? I created a free guide titled Stronger Again in Perimenopause. Inside, you'll find 2 beginner-friendly full-body strength workouts, along with a simple protein-first nutrition framework designed specifically for women in midlife. It's practical, easy to follow, and created to help you build strength, support healthy muscles, and promote long-term independence. The link is in the description below, so you can download it after you're finished watching this video. Now, let's talk about what your bone density scan is actually measuring. When people hear the phrase bone density, it can sound really technical, but it's actually much simpler than most people realize. Think of your bones like the framework of a house. They aren't hollow, they're living tissue that's constantly changing. Your body is always breaking down old bone while building new bone. When we're younger, especially through childhood and early adulthood, we build bone faster than we lose it. That's how we reach what's called peak bone mass, usually somewhere around our late 20s or early 30s. From there, the goal becomes maintaining as much bone as possible. A bone density scan, also called a DEXA scan, simply measures how much mineral content is inside your bones. In other words, it's looking at how strong and dense those bones are. The scan usually focuses on areas like your hip and spine because those are 2 of the most common places fractures can occur as we get older. The scan then compares your bone density to what's considered healthy for someone your age. That's where terms like osteopenia and osteoporosis come from. And that's where many women start feeling confused. So let's clear that up next, because here's the thing. Osteopenia and osteoporosis are not the same thing. Understanding the difference can help you know what your results actually mean. Let's start with osteopenia. Osteopenia simply means your bone density is lower than what's considered ideal. Notice what I didn't say. I didn't say your bones are weak or that your bones are breaking. And I definitely didn't say there's nothing you can do about it. Think of osteopenia as an early warning sign. It's your body saying, hey, let's start paying attention now. In many ways, that's actually encouraging because it gives you an opportunity to take action before more bone is lost. This is often the stage where lifestyle habits can make a meaningful difference. Things like strength training, getting enough protein, making sure you're getting enough calcium and vitamin D. Those habits all become much more important during this stage of life. So if you've recently been told that you have osteopenia, I don't want your first thought to be, I'm getting old. Instead, now I know what's going on, and now I know I need a plan. Okay, now, if osteopenia is lower than normal bone density, then what exactly is osteoporosis, right? And should you automatically assume the worst if you've been diagnosed with it? Let's talk about that next. Osteoporosis is the next stage. It means that bone loss has progressed to the point where your bones become more fragile and the risk of fractures increases. Again, that doesn't mean every person with osteoporosis is going to break a bone, but it does mean we want to take it seriously. This is where I think a lot of fear can creep in. Women hear the word osteoporosis and immediately think, well, this is just part of getting older. Or I guess there's nothing I can do now. I don't want you to believe either of those things. Because while we can't stop the aging process, we absolutely can influence how we care for our bodies as we age. And in just a moment, I'm going to walk you through some practical steps to support stronger bones moving forward. But first, we need to answer one more important question. Why does bone loss become more common after menopause in the first place? So, why does bone loss seem to speed up during menopause? It comes down to one important hormone, estrogen. Estrogen does a lot more than regulate your menstrual cycle. One of its many jobs is helping protect your bones by supporting the normal processes of building and maintaining bone tissue. As estrogen begins to decline during perimenopause and menopause, that balance starts to change. Your bones begin breaking down bone faster than it can rebuild it. That's why many women see changes in their bone density during this stage of life. Now, this doesn't happen because you've done something wrong. It's actually a normal part of aging. But normal aging doesn't mean you have to ignore it. It simply means it's time to become more intentional about how you care for your body. Because while we can't stop menopause, we absolutely can influence how we respond to it. And that is where your daily habits become incredibly important. Before I walk you through those habits, though, if you're realizing that strength training is something that you've been waiting to start but weren't really sure what to do safely or how to do it, I want to remind you about my free guide, Stronger Again in Perimenopause. Inside that, I walk you through 2 beginner-friendly strength workouts and a simple protein-first nutrition framework that's designed specifically for women in this stage of life. It's a great place to start if you're looking for practical guidance without feeling overwhelmed. You'll find the link for that in the description below. Now, let's talk about what actually makes the biggest difference. Strength train consistently. You're going to hear me say that a lot. So if you followed me for any length of time, you've probably heard me talk about strength training before. Very often, actually. That's because it truly is one of the best things you can do for your muscles, your metabolism, your balance, and your bones, and just your general health overall as you age. Bones respond to challenge. When your muscles pull against your bones during resistance training, it sends a signal that those bones need to stay strong. That's one of the many reasons I encourage women in midlife to prioritize strength training rather than spending all their time on cardio. Even 2 or 3 well-planned strength workouts each week can make a meaningful difference over time. Okay, next thing, eat enough protein. We often think about protein only in terms of building muscle, but muscle and bone work together. Strong muscles help support healthy bone. And as we get older, our protein needs actually increase. So instead of asking, how can I eat less? A better question becomes, am I giving my body what it needs to stay strong? That is a very different mindset. Okay, next thing, make sure you're getting enough calcium and vitamin D. These nutrients play an important role in your bone health. Talk with your healthcare provider about your individual needs, especially if you've already been diagnosed with osteopenia or osteoporosis. Sometimes food is enough, but sometimes supplementation may be appropriate. The important thing is making those decisions with your healthcare team. Lastly, stay consistent. This is probably the most important one of all. Bone health isn't built in a week. It isn't built in a month. It's built through the choices you make over and over again over time. Consistency almost always beats perfection, and you don't need to do everything perfectly. You simply need to keep showing up. Before we finish, there's one thing I want to make sure you don't leave this video believing, because I think it's one of the biggest misconceptions surrounding osteopenia and osteoporosis. If you've been told recently that you have osteopenia or even osteoporosis, please don't hear that diagnosis as the end of your story. Hear it as information. Information enables you to make wise decisions. I've watched women begin strength training in their 50s, 60s, and even 70s and become stronger than they ever imagined. Not because they were trying to become bodybuilders, but because they wanted to keep living the life God had called them to live. They wanted to keep hiking, serving, traveling, playing with grandchildren, carrying groceries, getting up off the floor confidently, because these things all matter. So strength isn't just about lifting weights. It's about protecting your independence as you age. And it's about caring for the body God has entrusted to you so that you can continue to serve the people you love for years to come. That's why this conversation matters. If today's video helped clear up some of the confusion around bone density, I'd love to invite you to take the next step with me. Every month, I host a free live training called Midlife Reset: Why What Used to Work Isn't Working Now. In that training, we go deeper into why our bodies change during perimenopause and menopause, what actually matters for building strength and supporting your health, and how to create a simple, sustainable plan that fits this season of life. If that sounds like something you could benefit from, you'll find the registration link in the description below. I'd love to have you join me at my next one. So now that you understand what osteopenia and osteoporosis actually mean, the next question is usually, okay, how do I start strength training? That's exactly what I cover in this video right here: how to start strength training in perimenopause. I'll walk you through how to get started safely, which exercises to focus on, and how to build strength in a way that supports your muscles, bones, and long-term health. So go watch that next video and I'll meet you over there.